2 weeks ago, I sat at my parents' dining table with roasted chicken steaming between us and resentment in the air. I'm Elena Hart, 34, and I thought we were there to mourn my grandfather. I didn't know my family had staged the night to corner me. I've always been the quiet, reliable daughter. My sister Sloane is the shining one. Corporate attorney, sharp suit, sharper smile. Mom calls her brilliant. She calls me sweet. My grandfather, Gideon Hart, lived at Hartwood, a quiet stone estate. Everyone else visited like they were checking an investment. I visited because he let me be myself. In his library, silence felt like permission. He died 3 months ago. Mom insisted the will be read at home. When I arrived, the house was crowded with relatives who hadn't spoken to Gideon in years. The mood wasn't grief, it was appetite. Sloane held court by the fireplace, wine in hand, talking about valuation and responsibility. Dad refilled glasses and avoided my eyes. In the corner sat Mr. Canning, Gideon's lawyer, tweed suit, leather satchel at his feet, watching. After dessert, Mom tapped her knife against Crystal. "We'll handle this privately," she said. Sloane stepped beside her. "Elena, be realistic. Sign your share over. Hartwood needs leadership. You'll be taken care of." They all waited for me to fold. I slid Mom's hand off my shoulder. "No!" The slap came fast and loud. Heat flared on my cheek. Tears sprang up from shock. Dad half stood, then stopped. Mr. Canning rose, slow and deliberate, and looked straight at my mother. "Mary Ann," he asked softly, "do you know who actually wrote Gideon Hart's last will and testament?" The room held its breath. Mr. Canning didn't reach for the envelope. He pulled out a plain, cloth-bound journal, the kind Gideon kept in his desk. "I executed the will," he said, "but your father wrote its decisive terms, dictated them, and his chosen witness helped set them down." Sloane scoffed. "This is theater." "It's insurance," Mr. Canning replied, opening the journal. "Gideon instructed me. If coercion appeared, I was to read." His voice became my grandfather's. Notes about my steady hands with brittle paper, notes about Mary Ann asking for advances, and Sloane's newest can't-miss venture. Then the sentence that turned my stomach and steadied it. He'd had me sit at his library desk all last winter, thinking I was cataloging Hartwood, its furniture, its land, its stories, while he was shaping his will in my handwriting. Mr. Canning closed the journal. "Elena Hart is not merely an heir, she was the amanuensis. The original is in my vault. Any challenge will be met by an irrevocable defense trust Gideon funded for her." Chairs scraped. Relatives murmured like birds taking off. Sloane stormed out, the door slam rattling the stemware. When the house finally emptied, my mother whispered, hollow, "Why didn't you tell me?" "You never asked," I said, pressing my palm to my burning cheek. At dawn, I drove to Hartwood. The iron gate was locked. Marco, Gideon's groundskeeper, rolled up and handed me a heavy skeleton key and a sealed letter addressed to me in my grandfather's slanted script. "Not before," Marco said. "Only after it changed." In the walled garden, I opened the letter. Gideon apologized for the pain and left one instruction. "Follow the catalog in the library desk. Start with the Eastern Woods. Plot E." Hartwood's library was unchanged. Gideon's desk waited, and in the drawer our catalog lay beneath a card in his hand. Start with Plot E. I hiked east through bare oaks until the woods opened into a clearing. A stone cottage sat there, chimney smoking. An elderly woman opened the door. "Elena," she said, "I'm June Hart, Gideon's sister." Over tea, she filled the missing chapter. The family cut her off for loving the wrong man, for choosing botany over society. Gideon bought this plot with his first money and built her a refuge. "He trusted you with the deed," she said, "and me with the land's memory." At the main gate, Sloane's SUV waited. She strode out in a war suit while Mom watched from the passenger seat, pale and tight. "Dissolve the trusts," Sloane said. "Mortgage it. Split the cash." I stayed behind the ironwork and lifted Mr. Canning's copies, no contest, and the defense trust. "Challenge the will," I said. And you lose what he still chose to give you. He planned for your loudness. Sloane's smile thinned. Dad's hands clenched on the wheel. I didn't bargain. I closed the gate and turned the key. That night, June and I signed the conservation easement Gideon drafted in advance, binding Heartwood's acres against sale. Next morning, Mr. Canning filed probate papers. Marco pressed spare keys into my hand. June walked boundary stones with me, naming trees like family, without fuss. At dawn, I planted snowdrops in the walled garden. White bells rose from black soil, small and stubborn. My cheek still ached, but my voice didn't. The quiet was mine.